get stuck on six. Okay. It's 6:30. Let's get started. Good evening. I want to thank each of you for coming to the 22 Forum. Our candidates tonight will be asked questions by our moderator, Mr. Blaine Fontaine. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you to turn your telephones off. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Dennis Tozan. I am the chairperson for the 22 Election Committee. I'd like to acknowledge the individuals helping us tonight. We have Blaine LaFontaine, our moderator. We have Megan Gamard, our timekeeper. And we have Nancy Perkins, our video manager. I forgot what you were doing, Nancy. And then, of course, we have Deputy Lacey Sharamay in the back, who's here to help us if we need anything. There she is back there. Our program tonight will consist of questions asked by our candidates, asked of the candidates by our moderator, Mr. Fontaine. There is no audience participation tonight beyond listening to the questions by our moderator and the answers of our candidates. For the sake of time, please hold your applause and cheering until the end of the session. Any disruptions from the audience may well result in eviction, depending on severity and frequency. I will now turn the program over to Mr. LaFontaine, who will explain our program and get us started.
Good evening. Welcome, everyone, candidates, to the second night, May 25th, here at 6:30. We have 7 candidates here tonight for asking for your consideration and sharing their platforms regarding the director positions for the upcoming POA election. As we did the other night, we'll go through. The POA sponsors a candidate forum every 2 years before the upcoming election, and they extended an invitation to each candidate to participate in the upcoming forums scheduled here tonight at Diamond Head City Hall. The format is as follows. They emailed questions to residents. They emailed residents soliciting questions before the forum. The questions will be selected random from this bowl. Tonight from the forum. There will be 7 questions in total. Each candidate will have a chance to lead with a question, and everyone will be given an opportunity to follow. Each candidate will have 3 minutes in the beginning to present a short bio, and the moderator, myself, will then ask questions in rotation with an opportunity for each candidate to answer first, and each successive candidate will have 2 minutes to respond. Process will continue until each candidate having an opportunity to answer every question that is asked. Officer candidates will have a chance to respond, as we stated again, in total for 7. Each candidate will also have a 2-minute closing statement. The forum tonight is live streamed and also available for those in attendance. And so we want to thank Dennis, the POA election committee chairman, and Megan again for their efforts tonight. When you see a yellow card hold up, that means 30 seconds remains in your time. When the red card is held up, I will try to interject and again just ask you to wrap up and close your statement. So let's get started with the introduction phase for tonight's forum. Again, we have 7 candidates. In no specific order, I'm just going to reference your names. Mr. Bill Blackwood, Mr. John Bunce, Mr. Patricia Burgoyne, Ms. Teresa Ertel, Mr. Rodney LaFontaine, Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine, and Mr. Stuart Nutting. We will, introductions and the questions will be in alphabetical order. So starting first, we will get to the phase of 3-minute introduction statements. Mr. Bill Blackwood, you can go first, and you can start now.
All right, thank you. My name is Bill Blackwood. I'm running for director. I recently heard a commencement speech by Lou Holt where he said that he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And when my wife and I moved here, we felt the same way. It was so beautiful in Diamond Head. We stopped and looked at the community and said, we are really lucky to live here. And we still feel that way, and we want to see it improve. And one of the things that I'm really interested in is keeping amenities and making them easy. We get all these advantages, everything from marinas, airports, you know all the stuff that's going on, party clubs, wine clubs, everything. And we only pay $56 a month for all these fine benefits. I'd like to say that early in my adult life, I served in graduation, obviously went to work and got some real money, you know. But after a couple of years of that, I decided that it would be beneficial to me to get a master's degree, which I got from Southern Illinois University. And after that, I've worked for 40 years. I've lived in at least 11 different states. I've owned homes and been parts of HOAs and POAs many times. I've had a couple of different condos on the beach and stuff, and obviously they all have HOAs and POAs, so I'm familiar with how those organizations operate. My 40 years of work experience, basically I'm an accountant by trade, so I started out as a business controller. I've worked, like I said, in at least 11 different states, and I've been the controller for a division with sales of over $1 billion and 25 operating locations. I spearheaded purchasing, data processing, management, budgeting, capital investments, and all those kind of things that you do, everything from auditing down to the bottom. So I guess I'm a team accountant by nature. Recently, I served over the last 10 years as the director and president of Millbrook Country Club in Picayune, Mississippi. My experiences there were somewhat cost-related. I mean, our membership after Hurricane Katrina went from 450 members down to 180. We had to implement cost controls necessary to match reduction in revenues, so we obviously had to cut expenses. So we have that as a background. I also was part of a advertising program to increase membership. My time is almost up, so I'd like you to remember my name is Bill Blackwood. I'd like to help maintain and improve the quality of the POA entities, and I wish you'd vote for me. I'm the first one on the list. It's really easy.
You got a green light? I do now. Thanks. Sorry about that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Blackwood, for your comment and your introduction. Moving along, Mr. John Bunce, your 3 minutes begins now.
Is yours on?
Push a button.
Push the button. There.
My name is John Bunce, and my wife and I, Jan, have been here over 20 years as residents of Diamond Head. This is our home. This is where we want to live out our life. This is special to us. As far as history, I worked for over 30 years for the federal government in Washington, D.C., and out at Stennis. I started as a scientist for the government, and in later years I became a manager and a administrator for the Navy. I retired in around 2000 and tried to retire for a year or two, and I realized that wasn't for me. So I was contacted by the sheriff of Hancock County, and for the last 18 years I've been a deputy, a road deputy, and then about 8 years of a criminal investigator. And then recently, as I've gotten a little older, I've become a bailiff in the courts here in Hancock County. As far as the POA is concerned, the last 2 years, I've been able to be on a subcommittee, and it's been an excellent opportunity to find out how our system works and how we can do better in the future. That's me. That's who I am.
Thank you, Mr. Bunce.
My name is Pat Burgoyne, and I've been a resident of Diamond Head for almost 7 years. Art and I moved from Slidell, where we had lived for 42 years, in a beautiful country waterfront subdivision that was devastated by Katrina. It has still not totally recovered due to a lack of the ability to enforce its covenants. Formerly a third-grade teacher, I entered the real estate business in 1977. I managed the Gardner Realtors relocation department for 10 years, and I managed the Gardner Realtors office in Bay St. Louis and Diamond Head for 6. I returned to full-time sales in August of 2019. I ran for director 2 years ago, and I was lost by a small margin, but the present board offered a forum for members to get involved in the POA. I volunteered, and I was chosen for 2 committees. I have served for 2 years on the Violations Committee and on the House Committee. During the time in the House Committee, we were involved in the complete renovation of the 19th hole. Previously, it was a hole-in-the-wall bar. Now it is a large, open, and inviting space, allowing for all of the weekly activities which are drawing large crowds. The enlarged patio is also in great demand for families coming to the rebranded club at Diamond Head. As a real estate professional, I know for a fact that most people choose to come to Diamond Head because of the amenities and the covenants, and they want to be confident that they will be upheld. Through the years, I've seen many developments deteriorate due to the lack of enforcement of covenants. If you want to see the evidence of this, drive to Slidell and go down Moonraker Drive. There are beautiful waterfront homes there. The driveways are filled with boats, motorhomes, travel trailers, and anything else that you can imagine, including a lot of pods. I don't want this for Diamond Head, do you? We have beautiful amenities here. They're available for all who pay their dues. There are recreational facilities, walking trails, pools, tennis courts, pickleball courts, restaurants, golf courses, green spaces, airports, marina, facilities to hold various functions such as the community center, the ballrooms, and the card rooms. Vision, imagination, the ability to plan for the future using imagination and wisdom. How do we use our imagination to plan for the future of Diamond Head if our covenants expire and the majority of our property owners do not pay to keep up our beautiful area? It would be my sincere hope that a majority of our property owners...
Ms. Burgoyne, please conclude your statement.
Okay. I wish I had all the answers tonight. I will promise to listen to your concerns and your ideas, and together we will keep Diamond Head great.
Thank you, Ms. Burgoyne. Moving along, Ms. Artell, your 3 minutes for your introduction starts now.
Hello, I'm Teresa Artell, Director, candidate in this year's election. My husband and I have lived in Diamond Head for over 19 years. I hold a Bachelor of Arts degree in Organizational Management from Eastern University in Pennsylvania. My work experience includes operations management and administrative project type management, and a lot of what the board does is project type management. We have to work on committees to get things done and voted on and approved. I fully understand the workings of POA boards, and I'm qualified to help facilitate the evolving changes in our community. No one has all the answers to what the expiration of covenants, whether they expired or they're not expired, they're in the bylaws, they're not in the bylaws, but we have to work together to come up with solutions and move forward. I know a lot of people keep bringing up the fact that the POA has entered into these lawsuits. There's a numerous group of people that sue the POA, and that's, always forgotten about. But somewhere we're going to come up with an answer on the covenant situation. It has to come to a resolution. I'd like to continue to work to streamline our amenities and make conscious decisions that make fiscal sense in where we spend our money and where we don't spend our money. Again, I'm a candidate for director, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Artell. Next up, we have Mr. Rodney LaFontaine. Your 3 minutes for your introduction begins now.
Hi, my name is Rodney D. LaFontaine, and I'm asking for all Diamond Head POA members to make your voice heard and elect myself as POA Director for the upcoming election on Saturday, June 18th. I am vested in this community not only by being a homeowner, but I've also been here for 13 years as a business owner of Gottschalk's Wine and Liquor, located just on the backside of Diamond Head. My background is marketing and business management, which I feel will be a great asset to the board in trying to increase revenues for our amenities. As our community has become very diverse and has changed in so many ways, we still must remember what brought us here. We were brought here for the charm that Diamond Head has to offer, which includes many amenities, clean streets, safe neighborhoods, and most of all, the Southern hospitality that the great state of Mississippi is known for. We must preserve these amenities and the charm by keeping them part of the POA and being more informative to our new, current, and potential members. I have many ideas on how we can make each one of us feel welcome and want to be part of the strongest community on the coast. We live in one of the most desired areas on the Gulf Coast, and with your help, I would like the opportunity to be part of keeping it that way. I do occasionally venture out to one of our neighboring cities that draw a lot of Diamond Head residents. I ask myself all the time, why am I leaving Diamond Head when we have the same opportunities as this town to bring the residents together, but on a smaller scale? I would prefer keeping the revenues here in our clubhouse in this community. We have many areas here that would be able to withstand grander member functions, such as bands under the oaks, glow golf, Sunday jazz brunches on the patio, youth-inspired sports and functions, and this is just to name a few. With this being said, I'm asking the members of this community to make the board a little more diverse and welcome new and fresh ideas to make Diamond Head one of the most profitable, small, and enjoyable communities around by electing Rodney D. LaFontaine for one of your next board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaFontaine. Moving along to Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine. Ready for your introduction? Your time starts now.
Thank you, Blaine. I'm Ronnie LaFontaine, and like the other members up here, I'm a candidate for the position of director for our POA committee. My wife and I, Elaine, had moved here to Diamond Head in 2014 from Bay St. Louis. We're both lifelong residents here in Hancock County. I have a bachelor's degree in management and communications, and I retired from ExxonMobil as a cost engineer after 32 years of service. I've been a member and served on several board of directors. I served as a board member of the local school board and also served as the election commissioner for the city of Bay St. Louis. I feel strongly that the business experience and my education has prepared me for the position, and I think I can lend a lot to the board as a member and as a director. My goals as a member of the POA board, first and foremost, is that every decision we make is in the best interest of our entire community, all of our residents and property owners. Encourage the community to get involved, get more involvement from individuals who are now sitting on the sidelines and wanting to be part of it, but we just don't encourage them. To ensure that our amenities are properly maintained and that we make improvements whenever possible. To ensure that we're conducting our business in a very efficient manner and also that we're getting the biggest bang for our bucks. And most of all, that we safeguard our property values and the safety and beautification of our neighborhoods. I thank you for this opportunity, and I would appreciate your consideration and vote on June the 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaFontaine. Our seventh candidate for the night, Mr. Stuart Nutting, ready for your introduction, starts now.
I am Stuart Nutting, and I'm running for director for 4 more years because I care about this wonderful place we call Diamond Head. Having been part of this community for 30-plus years and serving as a director for the last 8 years. This started when my parents living here, and because of the way Diamond Head treated them, I decided to donate my time to do what I could to maintain and advance this jewel of the coast. Of note, most recently, 2 brothers and a sister are building here, and 1 other moved here. We all realized what a special place this is and the need to not only preserve what we have, but also to adapt for our changing demographics and situations. I am retired from being a heart and lung surgeon in the New Orleans area 20 years ago and moved to Diamond Head to raise my 3 amazing daughters. They were educated in the Hancock school system, where I was president of the PTA for 7 years. I have had the privilege of being part of a mostly truly dedicated group of POA board members for the past 2 years, missing only 4 meetings. Thank you all for your selfless service that were on the board. I served on the golf, marina, and airport committees. At this time, a special shout out should be given to the leadership of President Ernie Knobloch and Vice President Jerry Gillen, whose direction we have accomplished a great deal. Examples of this are board meetings broadcasts, all spending proposals at open meetings, hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants and past dues collected, the input available at meetings to the POA, financials posted monthly in the Diamond Head News, talk about being transparent and proactive. And I'm certainly open to any suggestions to improve how the POA runs in the future. We actually made improvements rather than just complaining at night on our computers and giving no positive suggestions. Here are some of the other improvements I was fortunate to be involved in. The new patio and indoor area at the club, marina and airport repairs and improvements, golf course improvements, becoming one of the finest courses on the coast, tennis and pool improvements, the start of pickleball, cornholing, and the dating of our amazing oak trees, to mention a few. Let us not lose sight of the fact that none of these positive developments could have happened without our professional and dedicated staff at all levels. To them I say thank you, thank you. I also want to thank the participants for their willingness to volunteer for the office of director. I am asking for your vote to continue to work for the good of all the citizenry of Diamond Head, and I want to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nutting. As every candidate has had an introduction, we will move into the question and answer section. As we stated, there's 10 questions. We will randomly draw a question for each candidate, followed by 2-minute responses, and everyone will get a chance for an introduction or an intro to the question and response. Mr. Blackwood, you will go first, and we will randomly draw question 1. And Mr. Dennis so pleasantly folded these in squares tonight, so I don't get them tangled and struggle. So, question 1. I am in the clubhouse 3 and 4 nights a week. There is always a large crowd in the restaurants. With all the business, why are we not showing a profit? And what would you do to begin to turn a profit? 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, well, I'm not privy to the information around how much profit we're making from the country club and stuff, but I too have seen the country club and see that it's getting a lot of use. It's very nice up there. I think it probably is showing a profit, I would think. I think that the more people you can get there, the more revenue you're going to bring in, and I think the only thing that we can really do is bring more people in and make it a nice place for everybody to come. It's beautiful. The club is beautiful, and the back porch is very nice. So I really don't have anything to add to that. I would say that, obviously you can always do better in purchasing and having systems that work well so that people are served quickly, and I know that they're working on bringing in a new point of sale to improve that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwood. And any candidate, as we progress through this, feel free if you want to ask me to read out the question again as we're moving along, since I know there are several candidates. Mr. Bunce, your 2 minutes starts now.
I agree with Bill completely. I think the club is doing great. I remember a couple years ago when there was nobody in there on most evenings, and now it's a big difference. Try going up there on a Sunday afternoon and even finding a place to sit down. It's great. So I agree with Bill. I think it's doing much better.
Thank you, Mr. Bunce. Ms. Burgoyne, 2 minutes.
Thank you. As I served on the House Committee, we were looking at a lot of the costs that were involved. And part of the time that in this past year is that we spent almost 2 months in renovating the kitchen. There were major renovations that had to be done in the kitchen. So that was time spent not making a lot of money. The other thing is, I think, and I'm not privy to all of the information, but I think that part of that cost is involved in maintaining the building. So there are a lot of costs involved that I don't think are actual food costs. So I am seeing an uptick, and I think that in the future, if it's all managed well, I think we'll continue. We will begin to see a profit.
Ms. Hartel, 2 minutes starts now.
The club actually has, in several months, made a slight profit. I wouldn't jump up and down and get all excited, but there has been improvements. Over the last several years, they've streamlined a lot of buying habits, how our staff and things are accounted for. So there's a better accounting of, I don't know how to actually say that, but when cost centers are charged for certain things and like that, more better reporting of the costs and profits has come through in the last few years. So we are seeing more profit in the clubhouse than we have in the past. And certainly with more people, like John said, if you go up there on a Sunday or on a Wednesday night, a Thursday night, and try to even find a seat, sometimes it's hard because there's so many people in there, which is a good thing. Retaining staff has gotten to be a huge issue with more salaries going up to retain certain staff, and that is a function of everywhere. Everywhere you go out, whether it's in the Bay, here in Diamond Head, you see, people searching for workers. So some of that is coming, full circle as well. But the club is starting to make more trends towards a profit.
Thank you, Ms. Ortel. Mr. Rodney LaFontaine, your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay. I'm also at the club just about 3 nights a week on the weekends, and I often ask myself the same thing. Why is it showing that we're in the negative? It looks as if we are on the right track, and if becoming elected to this board, that is one of my goals, is to actually go behind the scene, ask if I could go behind the scenes and learn the backbones of everything that the board oversees. And that way I can come up with my own answer as to why we are running at a negative. Also, just like Saturday night, we had a disco party. Very minimal expense because you already have entertainment there, but you threw a dress-up party, which the younger demographic of Diamond Head loves that. You walked in Saturday night and the place was packed. So maybe just more events like that with more exposure and just getting it out there a little bit more.
Thank you, Mr. LaFontaine. Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine, your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, I'm just thankful no one had my picture on Facebook after the disco party Saturday night. I think that we've done a very good job after the hurricane damages, remodeling, making the club more friendly to outside folks coming in to visit. I think traffic from non-members, non-residents has increased. Rebranding of the Oak Room and Latitude 30 has helped. The patio exceptional. And like everyone says, on the weekends and even in the weekdays for lunch, the crowd coming in and meetings that they have, Rotary Club and things like that, have energized the club. As a board member, I think the first thing we need to do is meet with the department heads, not only in the food and beverage, but grounds, every department head, so we can get a better handle on where we are and what we can do to be more efficient and see where we can squeeze out a few more dollars here and there. Right now, I think all over this area, we're looking for staff members. It's hard to maintain, staff, which I think locally we have done a real good job because a lot of our wait staff and all in the club, our bartenders and all have remained with us for a while now. And we've got some good personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Ronnie. Mr. Nutting, your 2 minutes starts
By
now.
way of some background information, I was fortunate enough to be with part of the last administration that came up with the idea for the patio and the expansion of what we now call Latitude 30. And as they say, if you build it, they will come, and they are coming. And our attendance is wonderful, but there's no reason that with that attendance that we can't show a profit. So what we have to do is look at the inner workings, as some of the other candidates have said, find out about expenses, and find out why we aren't making a profit with that many people showing up to enjoy the wonderful facilities that we have. And as was mentioned, we have wonderful staff and management. There certainly has to be a way where that's a profitable institution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nutting. And that concludes our first set of questions. We'll move along to question 2, starting with Mr. Bunce. I consider our amenities to be the most important part of our community for adult enjoyment, as well as activities for our youth to keep them active in positive activities. Do you agree? And what will you do to ensure we continue to have our amenities and maintain our current low dues? 2 minutes.
I think that person should run for the board also. They said it very well. The amenities are great. They're improving. I think the current board is on the right track, and all we can do as potential members is to increase that ability and improve things as we see it every week.
Thank you, Mr. Bunce. Ms. Burgoyne?
I definitely agree with that. We don't all use all of the amenities. I've not been in the pool. I don't play golf, but my husband plays golf. We try to go to the walking trail. We go to the club a lot. The ones we use, we totally enjoy. And so we shouldn't expect everybody to use every amenity, but we need to keep up every amenity for all of those people who do choose to use them.
Thank you. Ms. Ortel?
Right, the amenities are really the big draw for why people come to Diamond Head.
That's right.
And whether they play golf or they play tennis or they like the marina. Not everybody does any of those things, but the whole charm of Diamond Head is the amenities in the whole package. We need to keep them and maintain them and keep them operating the way they're meant to be in full. It takes investment. Some of these buildings are now quite old. Air conditioning units need to be replaced and things like that. And the board's responsible for keeping the amenities going, in a reasonable fashion.
Thank you. Mr. Rodney LaFontaine, your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, I don't have the answer as far as keeping the dues to $56 a month, which is very cheap for these amenities. But I think there are other avenues that we can do here in Diamond Head to bring in extra revenue, such as some of the things I mentioned earlier, Bands Under the Green, Glow Golf. Make it fun for the residents here to come there and want to spend money that we're not getting now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine, your 2 minutes starts now.
We have some wonderful amenities, as everybody says, and there's something here for everyone. We are getting a lot of younger families in the area now. We went from a retirement community to a community that are seeing a lot of young professionals, a lot of young families. And we need to concentrate on some additional amenities that will be used by these folks. A skate park for the young children. I think we have an opportunity to help out our old yacht club and the Lazy Gator by installing some sand volleyball courts, lighted volleyball courts that we could utilize. Things like that. There's other ideas we can use to enhance the amenities that we have now that would attract additional folks here. If they come to visit, then they'll want to come and move here.
Thank you, Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine. Mr. Stewart Nutting?
So the question is a little more complicated than it might appear. The $56 is a wonderfully low dues fee, but if we can't maintain it for a large percentage of our population, then it puts a monkey wrench into everything. But it's certainly true that we need to maintain the amenities, look into getting different amenities to attract the new demographics we got. But one of the big problems is the covenant situation and whether it's legal for them to be rolled in the bylaws so that we can have the money stream of money to maintain these amenities at a reasonable cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nutting. Mr. Blackwood?
Yeah, I agree that we've got it really nice here with our amenities. We got everything possible out there to do. We're only paying $56. I think that we need to build on that and have more amenities for the younger group, for the kids and stuff, to keep themselves active, keep them off the streets. Like when we were kids, I was outside playing all day, and I'm not sure we have enough stuff for the kids to do that all the time. But I think one of the big things that we can do is take ourselves and look at our cost and do some benchmarking around how much it costs us to run everything and compare it to what other people are paying. What's a golf club cost, benchmark all of that information so that we can have a better understanding if we're doing good or if we're doing bad. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwood. So moving along to the third question, starting with Ms. Burgoyne. What is your plan for our amenities without covenants?
That's a vision that we need to have and try to figure it out. I don't think anyone knows the answer to that right now. I think we've got to have a lot more information. I think we need to have a lot of input from people if that's going to actually happen. But I do think that there are enough people in Diamond Head that understand the importance of it that will continue to pay. So,
Thank you, Ms. Burgoyne. Ms. Artell?
Exactly. I feel that the community is behind the amenities and they're willing to pay for them, even if their covenants have expired. There's several large numbers of people that are still paying the $56 a month. Now, whether they'll continue to do that long term, I mean, no one knows. I mean, it's just a question that no one really has the answer to, and I don't know who could possibly come up with that until we get some long, drawn-out court decision that says yay or nay.
Thank you, Ms. Artell. Mr. Rodney LaFontaine?
So, the thing of it is I think that a lot of people will be willing to continue paying as long as we make it appealing to everyone. We have to make them want to pay for these amenities. The extracurricular activities, make it fun for the youth. There's just lots of ideas that I have that I think would encourage people to pay. And I think that's where we are with so many people being expired already. We have to make them want to be a member of this.
Thank you. Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine?
In light of our current economic situation, it's kind of difficult to project what we can see down the road. But like everyone else, everyone I've spoken to that their covenants has expired, the large majority of them continue to pay their POA dues simply because they enjoy being here and they want the amenities in our community to continue on the current track that we're on now. But it is going to be difficult to project down the road what we're going to do because of our current economic situation.
Thank you. Mr. Nutting?
Certainly in the short term, the points that have been mentioned are what we need to do, and that's make the amenities more attractive so people will pay their dues, of which we have approximately 70% of the people paying now. Long term, what's going to depend on is what's happening in the courts, where 10 years ago we rolled the covenants into the bylaws to see if that holds up so that we get our guaranteed revenue stream from due payers. After that, we have a futures committee that have been working on this for quite some time to find out what the solution would be if we don't have the dues revenue in the future. And that's the ideas are as diverse as the number of people in this room, what to do at that time. But those are some of the ways we have to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nutting. Mr. Blackwood?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you can have a comprehensive program until you understand where you are in that situation. But ultimately, you're going to be in a situation where it's going to be a pay to play, you know. It's going to have to pay for each one of those things if you don't have the revenues to cover them all. I don't think we're going to get to that situation. So, thank you.
Mr. Bunce?
Because we have no control over what's going to be happening in the court system, we shouldn't be worrying about that. We should be worrying about today. How are we going to keep things going today and how we can make it better? The courts are beyond our current control. So let's do the best we can with what we have.
Thank you, Mr. Bunce. Moving along to question 4 with Ms. Artell leading us off. There continues to be discussion on the need for the board to have more transparency. The current board has taken steps to have all board meetings open. All general board meetings are in real time on YouTube, and meetings are recorded for later viewing. Votes are taken in open meetings, and all committees have at least 4 non-board members to discuss recommendations to be presented to the board. A president's review is presented every month in the meeting, and the review is published in the Diamond Head News and on the webpage. Given all of these attempts to be more transparent, what would you do? What would do you believe? Sorry, that one's a
Come on.
tongue twister.
There's a W.
What would you believe the board should do to be more transparent? Two minutes. Start.
I have no idea. I have no idea. When people say this, be more transparent, I want like a concrete example of somebody to give me where it wasn't transparent. I mean, Ernie has brought these meetings. They're open. Every board meeting is open. Every decision is made in a board meeting. Everything is voted on out in the open. It's recorded. People can go on the live stream. They can see it the next day. Minutes are published. The agenda is out days ahead of time. I don't know how more transparent this board could be. When this board started 2 years ago, they wanted the community to volunteer to be on committees. I chair a committee. I know, I mean, we used all the people that signed up to be on the committee. Now, some of them have decided, they wouldn't show up or whatever, but the community was asked to be on the committees. I just don't have an answer on how much more transparent. I mean, I want somebody to give me an example of non-transparency, I guess.
Thank you, Ms. Sertel. Mr. Rodney LaFontaine?
I have to agree that the board is very transparent. I've had questions myself, and I was quickly able to find the answers. I've looked at it myself, and I don't understand how the board is not being transparent. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine?
Well, over the last 2 years, it's quite evident that the board has done a lot to make everything transparent. I mean, everything is broadcast, everything is open, there's no hidden agendas, and by having volunteers from the community serve on committees, it was probably the best idea that we've had in a while to get everyone involved. And I can't see any other way to be any more transparent than what this board has become over the last 2 years.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart Nutting?
Under the direction and leadership of President Knobloch and Vice President Gillen, this board has done an amazing job in transparency, as the question even answers the question about how transparent it is. As far as how to be more transparent, I'm not sure there is any more transparent you could be. Some of the complaints were about some of the financial information that the people wanted to see, and the financial information is available to them. They just can't record it and take it home and post it on Facebook for nefarious reasons. The other thing about this transparency thing is it's a wonderful catchphrase in the political genre where be more transparent, when actually they're being as transparent as they can be, but it sounds like they're doing something terrible by not being transparent. It's almost like the emperor wears no clothes if that's what they want us to do. So I'm very pleased with the level of transparency, and if anyone has any idea on how to be more transparent, this past board and the upcoming board, and I'm sure any of these directors would agree, would be more than happy to accommodate them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nutting. Mr. Blackwood?
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have anything to add to the transparency. It looks like if you want information, it's available, other than the financials, and I can understand why. There's got to be some things in the financials that not everybody sees. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwood. Mr. Bunce?
I agree with Mr. Tell. If there's something specific they're looking for that we're not doing correctly, bring it up and let us work on it. But to my knowledge, it's very transparent.
Ms. Burgoyne?
As I said, I serve on 2 committees. One of them, Ms. Ertel, is the chairman of. We have our meetings, we discuss things, and if there's something to bring before the board, she makes that makes that report. Other people make reports at the meetings. they vote on these things, they discuss things. I can't understand why people think it is not transparent unless I think it's just a figment of their imagination on Facebook.
All right. That concludes question 4. Moving along to question 5. We'll start with Mr. Rodney LaFontaine. We continue to debate the legitimacy of moving the covenants into the bylaws in 2010. I understand this action is in the bylaws and recorded in the clerk's office. I also understand that a legal opinion is just that, only an opinion. It will require a ruling by a judge to determine its legitimacy. What will you do to expedite getting this issue before a judge to get a ruling on its legitimacy?
That's kind of a difficult answer. I mean, other than what we're already doing, there's no way to expedite it anymore. We have to just wait on the judge to make his decision, and who knows when that will be. I mean, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine.
Yes, it's just a wait and see game right now. You're waiting on the opinions from the Supreme Court, from the judges to come down with an opinion. And right now it's just a wait and see to see what the legitimacy is.
Thank you, Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine. Mr. Stewart Nutting.
As with anything in the court system, they're in charge of that. We are blessed to have a wonderful lawyer in-house that's working diligently to push this through as quickly as it can be done. But you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, and that's what the court system's all about. So everything's being done that can be done, and hopefully it'll be a matter of months, not many years, to resolve this situation. And I'm hopeful that it'll rule in our favor where the covenants are legal in the bylaws and we can get on with running this wonderful community like we want to. Thank you.
Mr. Blackwood.
Yeah, I guess the only thing we can do is be ready to appeal it if we're not happy with the answer, and other than that, I don't know how you make the courts do anything. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bunce.
I agree with everybody else. It's we're doing the best we can, and all we have to do is be patient until the court makes a ruling.
Thank you, Mr. Bunce. Ms. Burgoyne.
I agree.
And last, Ms. Ertel.
I agree as well, and the problem is once the ruling comes, there's a group of people in Diamond Head that will appeal it. And then we start the next process and go to the next rung of the judicial system. And when that ruling comes down, they'll appeal it again. So there's no speeding up the process, but there's always going to be the appeal system as well.
Thank you, Ms. Ertel. Moving along to question 6, starting with Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine. What would be your number one goal as a member of the POA board if elected?
My number one goal as a POA member of the board is to make sure that we get everyone involved, that we conduct our business in the best interest of all our property owners, and that we spend our money wisely. We're efficient in our budgeting and managing of our VOA fees that we collect, and that we're utilized in the best possible manner.
Thank you. Mr. Nutting?
Well, the number one goal is there's so many of them, and it's going to be hard for anyone to say they have a number one goal. But I guess the number one goal is what makes Diamond Head, and that is the amenities, and making sure that they're maintained and move forward with new amenities for the new demographics, and move forward so that we can maintain this place that we all moved here because of what is here. So my number one goal would be to maintain the amenities and make sure there's a money stream that can maintain that.
Thank you. Mr. Blackwood?
Yes, I would make sure that the amenities are maintained the way they are and that they're improved upon. I don't think we can do much more than that as a board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bunce?
I agree exactly. That's exactly what I would say. Make the amenities better and do it one day at a time.
Thank you. Ms. Burgoyne?
My goal would be to make sure that the amenities are maintained and are fully funded. Some will always be dependent on the dues, like the pools. They don't bring in any money. Golf is fully funded by itself. And hopefully, as we've talked tonight, the club and the food and beverage will be as well. But there's some that will always be dependent on the POA dues. But that's my goal.
Thank you. Ms. Hertel?
To, exactly, keep the amenities funded, improve upon them, fiscal decision-making on where our money gets spent and on what amenities. There are some amenities that are aging and need some upkeep and repairs, and make fiscal sound decisions on where the money gets spent.
Mr. Rodney LaFontaine?
So, if elected, one of my main goals would be to be a little bit more informative to the residents that do not use the amenities. Like, I meet lots of people that have never been to the club, and I'm like, why? But they don't know how fun it is, and maybe, we could just reach out a little bit more than what we do now to try to gain those people, to try to get them in there to spend money and make these amenities more profitable than what they are now. So that would definitely be one of my goals, to reach out to a crowd that's here in Diamond Head and that are members but don't utilize the amenities. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving along to the final question for this part session. Mr. Stewart Nutting, we'll start with you. As a board member, your participation on committees where a large part of the work is done before making recommendations to the board will be important. You may be asked to participate on up to as many as 3 committees. What is the one committee you have the most interest in serving on, and why? And the committees are administration, golf, recreation, marina and airstrip, house, which is the restaurant and club, and grounds and safety. Mr. Nutty.
Well, I've had the privilege of having some of the inside scoop on that, having been on the board for the last couple of years and being on a couple of committees, golf and airport and marina. And the interesting thing about the committees that people should know is there's 3 board members on each committee and 4 or 5 representatives from the community who are active and interested in that part of our things. Each individual will have a special interest. Mine being golf, being a golfer, I would pick golf. But the other committees are very active and good, and the fact the way they're set up with 3 board members and 4 or 5 other residents on it gives some wonderful information to move on up the chain of command to the board to decide on what things should be done to keep developing this community. So I'm going to say golf in that situation, but the others are equally important.
Thank you. Mr. Blackwood.
Yes, my background is in administration and accounting, and I would think that the best place for myself to be utilized would be in administration. Although I'm an avid golfer and I play like 5 or 6 days a week, so I wouldn't mind being on the golf committee either. But my background is accounting and administration and finance, so I would say administration would be a good place for me to start. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Bunce.
I also would like to be involved in the golf committee, but because I do play a lot of golf, I think I'd enjoy being on the facilities committee to get involved more in the infrastructure of the POA.
Thank you. Ms. Burgoyne?
Well, having served on the House Committee, I've enjoyed it a lot. That's my main interest. I also serve on the VCC Committee, and I would like to see us have a marketing committee. I know we have marketing that's being done, but I was thinking that is something that I think we might add, is a marketing committee so that we market Diamond Head. And I know there are some that are handling it and it's being done very well, but that would be another interest that I would have.
Ms. Hertel?
The committee that I would be interested in is obviously the House Committee. I've chaired it for the last 2 years and I was on it prior to that, so I would like to continue to be on the House Committee. and see through some of the projects that have been started to get them completed. Some of the work that has been done in the kitchen, see that through till completion. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to be on the golf committee too, but can't be on all the committees.
Mr.
I would-
Go ahead.
Sorry. I would have to say, based on my background, I would definitely do well on the House Committee. But based on me wanting to learn, I would also like to sit in on the Golf Committee because I'm not a golfer. So I would definitely like to sit on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ronnie?
Well, it looks like the golf committee is the most popular. But
When others zig, you zag. That's right.
exactly. But I think I would be more interested in the Safety and Grounds Committee because that seems to be an overlooked function. Nobody talks too much about our safety in our community. And with the number of employees we have and some of the tasks that they're asked to do, I think that's pretty important to make sure that we've got our safety checks and responsibilities in place.
Sounds good. Thank you all for the questions and answers and sharing your ideas and platforms. We will now move to the closing section. And as we started with the introductions, we will start in alphabetical order. So, Mr. Blackwood, you have 2 minutes for your closing
Okay.
statement.
Again, I'm Bill Blackwood. I'm seeking to get to one of these positions. There's 3 open positions as a director. I know we're currently in a situation where the original covenants are reaching the 50-year mark. While I don't know the specifics of what the court cases that are pending are going to resolve, but we need to be prepared for a possible reduction in revenues. My business experience, as well as my position as a golf club president and director, have faced similar situations. I think we need to review all revenue sources, need to be reviewed and expanded to ensure that we continue to operate with a positive cash flow. Cost controls and purchasing opportunities need to be looked at. We have data processing systems need to be in place to assist controlling cost and implement and improve efficiencies. We need to compare our expenditures and revenues with other similar operations to develop an understanding of how we can improve and do a little benchmarking. I am sure that many of these thoughts have been carried through by others in the past, but it's not rocket scientists, it's like KISS. Everything needs to be easy, and we need to revisit some of these items. If you'd vote for Bill Blackwood, I think you'll be happy with what I do as a board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwood. Mr. Bunce?
I think Diamond Head has reached a pretty critical point in its development, and the future is one we have to worry about. There seem to be 2 avenues out there in the world. One group of people want to get rid of the amenities. They don't need them, they don't like them, they don't use them. That short-sightedness is not what I think we're seeing here. I listened to the other board people, the candidates for the board, and they're all positive on making a difference in our community. That's where I want to go. I want to be positive and make sure we make the most with what we have to work with. I know there are budget constraints and we have to make hard decisions, but that's what we're here for. The people who really do the work, the ones who mow the grass and clean the pools, they don't get much recognition for any of the stuff we do. No matter how good we do our decisions, we have to be supporting them, the employees out there, who actually make us look good. I'd appreciate your support in the coming election.
Thank you, Mr. Bunce. Ms. Burgoyne?
Thank you. Well, it would be my sincere hope that a majority of our property owners will have confidence in our leadership and continue to support our amenities and keep Diamond Head the great place to live in. I don't believe in status quo. I think that maybe once the new board is in place, that we could have a brainstorming, we could look at things that work, things that don't work in various committees and on the board. And I think that's where we should start. I think our present board has done a phenomenal job with all the obstacles they've had to face. But I hope that you will vote for me, and I will do my very best to represent all of the members of the POA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burgoyne. Ms. Sertel, you have 2 minutes.
I believe in the amenities. I think we need to put our efforts into not only supporting, but coming up with what our other options and, so to speak, Plan B is going to be to keep them operating and running long into the future. I've been on the board. I have various experience with HOAs, and I would like to continue. So I would like for people to consider voting for me on June 18th for director candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rodney LaFontaine, 2 minutes.
Okay. As we close this forum tonight, I am asking all of you once again to bring someone to this board that will be very devoted and proactive. I will be a committed member and will learn what the board represents. I will make it a point to learn each segment of business that is part of the POA and learn the backbone of how each one operates. As a board member, I want all members to feel welcome, whether it be in our clubhouse, tennis courts, or on the golf course. We have beautiful spaces here, including banquet areas in the community center that I would also like to see more utilized by increased meeting space events such as weddings, corporate and social club events. With your help, I believe that we can succeed with making the residents of Diamond Head want to be part of the POA and making this community fun and exciting. Thanks again for all your support on this venture, and I look forward to serving you on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ronnie LaFontaine.
I've watched Diamond Head develop since the early 70s, and my wife and I made the decision to move here simply because of the amenities and what this community had to offer. And I would definitely like the opportunity to do my part to be a member of this board to help continue that. I would like to thank all of you for being here tonight and all the folks who sent in the questions and take the time to hit us with a few questions. And I would appreciate your support and your vote in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart Nutting.
In closing, I would like to thank Blaine for moderating, the election committee for their job, the qualified candidates for all being here, and the attendees for being here and for the thoughtful questions. I have mentioned some of my many past accomplishments. I have always been and will continue to be active and supportive of Diamond Head and the surrounding community and our great nation. I have not sat at home watching television, expecting to come out of the shadows and help direct this complex PO corporation. Moving forward, because it is about the future, we need to continue to have our POA representatives be diligent and flexible for our changing demographics and the situations, and to preserve and improve our special part of the world. But we need to be open and thoughtful about different and new ideas and solutions from this wonderful melting pot that we cherish. But we cannot forget about the citizenry that got us here. We need to simplify some of the overlap with the city to make permits in other areas more user-friendly, make our amenities more fiscally responsible, and continue to adapt for our always changing environment. We need to enhance our marketing to promote all the great aspects of community, a better plan for a relationship between our various HOAs and our Diamond Head POAs. We need to continue working with the courts to settle our covenants dilemma, and through the Futures Committee having plans to maintain our unique Diamond Head, whatever the court's decision may be. I want to thank you for the opportunity to represent you for the last 8 years. It has been my privilege. I would ask for your vote on June the 18th, but whatever the outcome, I will always be a supporter of Diamond Head, its amazing amenities, and its representatives. You have a wonderful group of candidates up here. I'll be comfortable with any three looking after us. Good evening and God bless.
So that concludes our introduction, questions, and closing statements. And that also concludes our two-night forum for the upcoming POA election on June 18th. I would like to thank all the candidates for their participation this week, for your openness, your honesty, your willingness to serve. And also like to again thank Dennis and Megan for their efforts and participation through this week. So again, best of luck on June 18th, and thank you all for your participation, and good night.